to your friends and other people in your company and in your industry. So we encourage you to do that so more people can get this knowledge and information. And then a little bit of background on who we are and that whole thing. So you can see on your screen there that Jeremiah is the president and founder of Contact Point, maker of LogMyCalls. Jeremiah can give you some more background of Contact Point, how he started the business, that sort of thing. What LogMyCalls does is it's a tool that allows the industry to listen to their calls and actually track which advertising efforts are producing the calls. So it's a really inexpensive way to track your marketing, which is really important, but then also hear your employees on the phone and hear how they handle price inquiries and other customer questions. So it's a good tool. It's used by a lot of companies in the tire industry, both small and very, very large. So it's a good fit. So with that, I want to turn it over to Jeremiah Wilson. So go ahead, sir, and yeah, if you could give us a little bit of background just on the company and your background, of course, and then we'll jump right into it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, everybody, and glad you're on this webinar. We were founded in 2001, so we've been around just about 12 years. And originally, we were very focused on the sales and training. How do you get people to be more effective on the phone? Over the years, it's evolved to what you see today with this LogMyCalls that McKay was talking about. But definitely enjoy helping people improve on their phone, and specifically because you can make more money on the phone when you focus on how your people are talking with the customer, how they're reacting to the questions being asked. So that's what we're going to spend time on today. We released LogMyCalls last year in May. We do call tracking, call recording, and specifically tracking close ratios. And I'll give you a feel for that as we go throughout this next hour. What is a close ratio? How do you increase it? What does that mean? So we're going to talk about that, and ultimately that's the goal today. How can you close more business coming in? So we know the tire industry. We actually have a lot of partners, some of the largest in your industry, as well as, of course, the one shop here and there locations as well. And we work with them from all ranges, whether it's just the marketing side, tracking your marketing, or whether it's the performance of how you're handling a phone call. So what do you do about price shoppers? These are the guys calling around saying, I want to find a price on a set of tires. One of the things that I focus on with the industry is, this is great. I mean, people are calling you and they need something. I mean, they have to get these tires from somebody, and of course there's a lot of options. They can go to their local Costco, they can go to the guy to the dealership, they can come to you. There's 100 places they can go to get the tires. And this is actually really good because somebody's going to sell tires to them, and ultimately it's going to be who gains their trust, who they like, who's most convenient, who's going to make it easy, and of course who's going to be the cheapest. And we all know that there's a wide range of options when it comes to tires, whether it's the warranty, the tread, the make, the whatever it is, it's going to adjust the value of this particular tire, the brand, of course. But ultimately, you're all buying the tires from the same place. You pay the people about the same to install the tire. You pay similar kinds of overhead. Some have advantages that others don't. But in the end, it's a relatively similar price point. The biggest difference is always and will always be how you connect with that caller. And so what shocks me today is how little effort is put into helping your people stand out from that sea of options in the tire industry. So little effort is spent that maybe you give them a script and maybe you give them some video to watch, but that's about the end of it, and then there's no follow-up afterwards. It really shocks me because in the end, you all sell tires, and you're either relying on somebody else's marketing to drive the traffic to you, or some sign or some mailer that you spent money to get out there. But in the end, when you talk with them, are you able to, how are you dealing with those price shoppers? So again, in this scenario, someone asks for a price, they get a price, and then they say thank you, and they call somewhere else. And of course, that's happening a lot. The question is, how do you turn that price shopper into a buyer? So I want to be very specific here. I'm going to pull out of this I'm going to pull out of this PowerPoint for a moment, and I want to go in and actually look at the Kansas area. And I just go on. Let's assume that I am an owner of a Nissan Titan. I need to get 4 new tires. I'm in Kansas area. I could say Kansas City here. Why don't I clean that up a little? But anyway, here's where I'm at. Now, I go down here. I pick the first place that I come to. I've got the tire store. I'm looking for a phone number so I can call these guys. Wow, that's not good. Where's their phone number? Well, that's a good sign if you've got a website to make sure you make it easy for somebody to call you. It should be right there on the front page. But I'm going to call this number here now that I went to the About Us page. And now as I call this, yeah, I'm going to really call them, and I'm going to really see how they're handling the call. I want you to ask yourself if this is a fairly normal call. And, of course, you can write questions, and McKay's going to look at those questions. And you can cut me off, and I'll stop what I'm doing and answer them as well. Here I am. I'm going to call this number you see there in Wichita.
This is Nudie.
I have a Nissan Titan. I need to get some new tires for it. Can you get me an idea of how that might work, what the cost would be?
Do you know what size is on them?
I believe they're 18 inches.
Okay. You know what year it is?
2004.
2004. It's a Titan. Let's see here. Looks like maybe a 265/70 18. Possibly. Let's see. Is it 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive?
4-wheel drive.
Okay, so you want something in an all-terrain tread, or?
I'd rather have something more for the freeway.
Okay. Looks like our best value right now in that size would be a hand-cooked DynaPro HT. Has a 70,000-mile warranty. That tire mounted and balanced to run you $195 each.
Okay, so 195 times 4, and that's installed?
Yeah, be $780 plus tax and disposal on your old tires.
Okay. I appreciate your help.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that is a typical price shopper. I'm sure you'll all agree. No matter who I call, where I call, anywhere in the country, that seems to be the standard response. The things you're interested in is what size tire, what's the age of the truck. In some cases, you're going to ask whether it's 2-wheel or 4-wheel drive. And once you figure out that you've got your set of tires in front of you on the computer screen or in your book, then you go, well, what are we talking about, all-terrain or freeway? And this is the typical response that these are the questions that we ask. Why? Because that's what we need to do in order to give them a price. Well, now we are truly focused just on price as a company when we do that instead of on the person themselves. And this is going to be a key thing that I'm going to focus on today is how do we stop just asking the basic questions, what's the size, what's the year, what kind of driving, and instead start getting to know our customer. When you get to know the customer, you start to sell tires. Otherwise, all you are now is an $800 set of tires that I'm going to now compare with somebody else. If you're the cheapest, I may go with you. Or I may actually go with the person who I connected with, trusted, built a relationship with that I think, this is somebody that I feel comfortable with. I may pay another $50 or $100 more, but they've convinced me that there's a reason for doing that because I can really depend on these guys. For example, it may be that you that I can come in and get the tires rotated for you. Nobody told me that, but maybe they assume I know that. Maybe they assume that I've been around in business for 20 or 30 years, which gives me some dependability. Maybe because you're in a buying group, maybe there's some value that you can provide them from the buying group. And so we're going to get into talking about how you can do more than just talk about price, but you can get into talking about what sets you apart, what makes you different, and that's your relationship with them. I will say, though, before I continue, one of the biggest things that comes up when I talk about relationship is I don't have time to do that. I'm trying to install tires. I'm trying to deal with 3 customers that are in the lobby. I don't have time to sit there and build a relationship with the customer on the phone. And let me just tell you real quick, you don't have time not to. It costs money to get that phone to ring. It costs money to lose that customer to somebody else, and I can assure you that if you'll take the time with that one customer, and you will increase the amount of business you get per call. Take the time to build the relationship. So remember, they called you. You don't have to make excuses for your time or their time. They called you. They invited themselves in. Now take the time to do what you need to do to show them that you're the place they should come to. No one price shops tires just for fun, unless you're me and you want to prank call somebody like I just did, which is rare. You need to take that call and go, these people will buy tires. What do I need to do to help them buy tires from me? And let me tell you, just giving them a price and saying goodbye is not it. There's more to it than that. They need tires they wouldn't have called. They need tires, so sell them tires. So let's keep going with this. How do you turn that price shopper into a buyer? Number 1, build a relationship. Now, in that greeting, you want to make sure that you're upbeat and positive. They need to feel that you're excited to see them. They don't care how busy you are. They don't care how bad your day has been. They want to know you're loving it. Hi, how you doing? This is Jeremiah. What can I do for you? Or thanks for calling Gerald's Tire. This is Jeremiah. How can I help you today? They need to feel that enthusiasm through the phone. You want to give them your name. This is Jeremiah, or this is Stan, or whatever. Give them your name, and it makes it easier for them to give you their name so you can use it, which we'll get to here in a moment. So use their name at least 2 or 3 times throughout the call. Show how eager you are to help them. Make sure that the first thing out of your mouth is, I can help you with that. You've called the right place. So when somebody calls up and they say, I need to get pricing for my Nissan Titan, a set of tires, you go, great, I can take care of that for you. This one point right here, by the way, this 3rd point, we found is a significant contributor to increasing your sales and increasing the relationship. I can help you with that. You just need to get in the habit of saying that every single time the phone rings. All right, note, all this can and should be done in the first 4 to 6 seconds. You never have a second chance to make a first impression. And we found at LogMyCalls that 63% of the calls we analyzed, employees do not use the caller's name. And you noticed in that call, he didn't even ask me for my name. Now, I made some calls just prior to even getting on this, and they didn't do that on any of those calls. In fact, we listen to thousands and thousands of calls in this industry every month, and it is rare that they do it unless they're trained to do it, unless they understand the value of how this relationship relates to increasing the amount of business that you can get on a given day. So if 100 people are calling in and you build a relationship, you will close more business on that day than on the prior day when 100 calls came in and you didn't do it. That's just how it works. Again, I hope you're sending some questions over to McKay. I definitely want to address any concerns you have about executing on the things that I'm teaching, because we know they work, and if you have some doubts or concerns, I want to hear about them so that I can address those, because most likely it's something that we've heard before, and we definitely want to help you work through it. So number 2, determine needs. You'll notice that the second thing you do after that 6 seconds isn't what size tire. Tell me more about the car. It's determine needs. Now, determine needs goes beyond just give me the basic information so I can give you a price. Determine needs goes into the who, what, where, when, why, how. Clarify more than just size and year of the car. So you want to be able to come back here with determine needs and say, so you've got a 2004 Nissan Titan. It's a 4-wheel drive. You got all the basics. So talk to me about what kind of driving you do. What are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish? Come back as the expert in tires. Not just ask them, is it all terrain, but what kind of driving do you do? Is this truck being used on dirt roads all the time, or is this truck being used for just because you like a truck and you like driving on the freeway? Are you driving your kids to school with it? Talk to me more about how you use a truck. How often do you change your tires? How long do you plan on having this truck? So ask them open-ended questions. Open-ended questions start with who, what, where, when, why, how. Again, what I found is we just subconsciously try and get this person off the phone as fast as possible. I don't know why, because that's not how you're supposed to sell. You sell by actually taking the time with people, but we're trying to get them off the phone as fast as we can, and so we naturally go to questions that get people off the phone fast. That question is a question that gets them to say yes or no, or quick answer. What size is the tire? 16 inches. All right. What make and model is it? Is this four-wheel drive? These are all yes or no questions. But if we take our time and do who, what, where, when, why, how, and so who am I speaking with? Tell me where you drive. When are you planning on getting this done? Why are you calling about tires right now? Are they balding, or you have gone in for an inspection and you need it done? Give me more of an idea of what you're looking to accomplish. This is determining their needs. And by you getting them to talk, they will like you. Look, that's not a new concept. 80 years ago, a book was written, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm sure you've heard of it. Dale Carnegie. It's been around before any of us were born, probably. Now, that book is nothing new. It's this concept. It's interesting. I just dropped a child off at a camp here in town for the week. And, you know, these are social experiences. I want them to make friends. It's around people they don't know. And so the first thing what I told her was, she was standing in line to check in. I said, look, here's what you do. The more you talk about them, the more they're going to like you. And she looked at me kind of weird, like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, Dad. You know, she didn't say that, but it looked like it. And I said, look, seriously, if you find out about what they like to do, what their hobbies are, and you ask more and more questions, even if they never ask anything about you, even if they never learn anything about you, they're going to like you. Because this principle has always been true and always will be true. Nobody cares about me. They care about themselves. And the more I can get them talking about themselves, the more they're going to like me. And, of course, Dale Carnegie did a great job in How to Win Friends and Influence People by teaching that principle. And, of course, in his book, he says, this gentleman sits down at the table. He starts asking all these questions to the person sitting next to him. He excuses himself a little bit later, and he leaves. The person he was talking to never got his name, never knew anything about him. All he'd done is talk about himself the whole time. And he said, he turned to the person next to him. He said, who was that guy that was just here? I really liked him. And what's interesting about that is he didn't know anything about him, but he really liked him. Why? Because the guy listened. And so this second point about determining needs is so critical, because you've got to get them talking about themselves. The more they talk about their driving, their car, their lifestyle, why they need the tires, what they're looking for, how long they plan to do it. The more you learn about them, the more they're going to like you. Now, the second point, once you have learned about them, you come back and you repeat it back to them. This is a skill that so few people do, and I'm telling you, whether you're selling door-to-door newspaper subscriptions or whether you're selling multi-million-dollar contracts, this restate skill I have found in my life is huge in sales, because restate shows them you're listening. Restate shows you're professional. Restate shows them that you understand what their needs are. And by the time you get to the point where you ask a lot of great questions and you come down here and say, so, just to be clear, you're looking for tires about in this price range. They're P225s by 50R16. Is that right? But you could even get more specific, and you could say, so you're looking for tires because you do a little bit of off-road, but mostly on-road, a lot of driving. You want something that's not going to be loud on the road when you're driving. And it sounds like it's important to you that you have a long warranty because you're planning on keeping this automobile for a long time. Does it sound like I've got all that correct? And when they hear you repeat all that back, they know you're engaged. They know you're putting effort into it. They know you're not just sitting there asking the minimal amount of questions so you can give them a price and get them off the phone, but you're actually taking your time. And somebody who's going to do that for me is somebody I want to trust with my car and with my tires. So in 71% of the calls that LogMyCalls analyzed, the employees did not restate. It's just astounding when you think about that. They don't even do this skill 71% of the time. So why
Jeremiah?
should someone buy from you? Go
Jeremiah?
ahead.
We get a couple of questions going back to a couple slides ago. How do you get someone to give you their name if they don't just volunteer and say, hey, my name's Tim or whatever? How do you approach them about giving you the name? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, what's interesting is if you're not used to doing this, then you're going to have a little bit of concern about whether or not the customer wants to give you a name. And you may have even had a customer go, why do you need my name? So that may cause somebody to ask that question. But the most basic thing to do is to just say, so who am I speaking with? Hi, this is Jeremiah. Who's this? You want to be casual about it. If you ask for the name as if it's a checklist, something you have to do because it's on your form, then the customer is going to feel that you're just doing it because it's your job, and they're not going to want to give you the name. But if they feel like you really care about them, hey, this is Jeremiah with J&R Tire. What can I do for you today? Oh, you're looking for a tire? Great, I can help you with that. Who am I speaking with? And so that would be the order I would follow it in. First, give your greeting, upbeat, give them your name. Tell them you can take care of them with whatever it is that they're looking for, and after that, come back and say, and who am I speaking with? There's a lot of ways you can do it, but most importantly, they need to feel like it's not a list that you're checking off.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions there, McKay?
Not. We can save the rest for the end. That was one I thought was good to bring up right now. So no, I think we're good.
Good. All right. So now, after you've learned about them and repeated it back, after you've got their name and you're using it, and they're really feeling like you're engaged in learning more about them, not just getting minimal information, giving them a price, you come back and you build value. So in this respect, it means you're telling them why somebody should buy from you. Now, we made that call earlier. We didn't hear that. We didn't hear any reason why I should go. And again, I'm going to pull out of this just so I can go back in and show this to you. This was the location, the tire store. He gave me nothing on the phone to tell me why I should come to the tire store. There was nothing other than price. It was strictly an $800 job. That's it. But if I were to go on their site, I bet you can find some things that would say, here's some car care tips, a video that you could watch on our website that might be able to give you some ideas. You can give them the website information. When they're shopping for tires, what's interesting is there's so much information out there that you can make that's unique for them. You can tell them the value of the specific Michelin tire or the Pirelli, why that particular brand that you're recommending is better for them than another brand. So you want to be able to tell them different aspects that set you apart. Again, the tire store may have a lot of great value that they offer. I heard nothing when I was on this call just now that said, here's why you want to come to us. So in this respect, I want to be able to say years in business. I want you to know you can add it up. Look at your invoices for last year. Last year, we put tires on 400 cars. We didn't have a single one come back with any issues, or we had 3 that had to come back. We rotated it for them, got it taken care of, no extra cost. You let people know what stands out, why they can depend on you, why they can trust you. You talk about the specific brand of tire. This is why you want to use this Goodyear tire, this Michelin tire, this Toyo tire. Here's some benefits, and you get all those materials sent to you from your vendor. Read through them. Share some of those with them. You may go, well, we sell the same tire as everybody else does. Why do they want to hear that from us? I'll tell you why they want to hear it from you, because they're not hearing it from anybody else. So if you say it and the competition doesn't say it, then you stand out as having something that the others don't have, even though it's the exact same thing, because you're talking about it. This could be that you may be one of those people that have multiple locations. Talk about that. You may not be one of those people that has multiple locations. Talk about the fact that you're locally owned. Talk about the fact that your dad started the business. Or talk about the fact, find things that are unique about you, your years of experience doing this, your certifications with TIA. Find things that set you apart, and make sure that you mention them. And this is how this would sound. You'd go back to this last section, you'd restate everything back to them here, and you'd say, so I understand you're looking for this, 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 and this. So let me suggest to you that I've got this tire that has a 70 1,000-mile warranty. And should you have any problems with it, bring it into us during that next 70,000 miles, and here's what we can do for you. We can do da-da-da-da-da. Even that would be enough. Or you could add to it, or you could do something totally different. You could come back and you could say, I want you to know that when you come in and work with us, we guarantee our work because of this, this, and this. Or I want you to know that we've been doing this for the last 20 years in this location. We're local, and we're going to take care of you. We're not going anywhere. So we want you to have the confidence to know that when you come and get your tires from us, we're going to be here for your next set of tires. We're going to be here when your kids need tires. We're going to be able to take care of you. Something simple that lets them know. Now, you may be uncomfortable with that at first. In fact, most people are. It takes time. But here's what we found. 56% of the calls that we analyze at LogMyCalls, employees do not make recommendations. They don't come back to the customer and say, here's what I recommend for you specifically, and here's the value that I suggest goes with that. All right. I cannot emphasize enough asking for the business. You heard on the call that we just made, he did not ask me for the business. When I said thank you, he just said, oh, this guy's just price shopping and he let me go. I can't believe that. It shocks me. Why not say, we want to do business with you? Why not say, when can you come in? Why not say, I have availability on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Does that work for you? Why not do something to get him to say yes or no? But in this respect, when on the call you just heard me make, there was no yes or no. There was no anything. It was just, I'm going to keep calling around. Thanks for the information. And the guy said, okay, great. Well, there are hundreds of places to go. You are in the business of selling tires, not just answering questions. So in order to sell tires, you've got to ask the question, will you do business with us? We're here for the next 2 hours. Why don't you come right down and we'll get you taken care of? Or I've got some time tomorrow at 10 and then again at 12. Which of those is better for you? You've got to ask this question. I mean, if there's nothing you do today, when you get off this session, the next phone call you make, put a big sign in front that says ask for the business, and make sure every time that phone rings you are saying, when can you come in? When's the time available? You've got to get the customer to say, yeah, that's great, I can come in at this time. Or, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep shopping around. You've got to get them to say yes or no in that scenario. And when you do it, of course, make sure you ask with confidence. You have no reason not to. They called you. They need tires. You can offer tires. You can do it very well. You're as good as anybody else. Be confident about that. And finally, make sure that you're fulfilling a need and only seeking to take care of your customer. We're not teaching you right now to sell something to somebody they don't need. If they need it, sell hard. If they don't need it, you're not the right place for them. You may not be able to take care of them. You may not have the brand or the make or the model, whatever it is that they need, and certainly you should try and help them with something they do need. But if you can't take care of them, skip it. Don't worry about it. But if you can, you need to sell hard. So here's the reality. We did a survey, a study with a university. 86% of the time, employees do not ask directly for the business. And of course, you just heard that on the call I made earlier. 86% of the time, we're not asking for the business. I'm telling you, you are salespeople. You sell tires. If you're not asking for the business, you are losing money every single phone call. And it takes money to get the phone to ring, as you all know. So not only are you wasting that money, you're wasting the opportunity to even make that $800 sale. So here's the deal. I said earlier, you've got to get them to say yes or no. If they say yes on asking for the business, you got the reservation. They're going to come in at a certain time. Take it. If they say no, this does not mean it's time to pressure them. What it means is it's time to come back and find out why so you can help them. So if you ask for the business and there is an objection, ask why. And then, of course, you come back and restate it. So in the scenario, in this scenario here, when I'm on the phone with the tire store, I can come to this person and I can say, yeah, $800, thanks for the information. I appreciate it. That's what I said. And he came back and he said, okay, thanks, bye. If he had instead come back to me and he had said, okay, I can understand that you want to get some quotes, call around, but can I go ahead and schedule you to come in and we can take a look at your tires and show you what we've got? If I say no to that, then he can say, oh, is it a bad time for you? Give me some idea. Why is it that that's not going to work for you? You've got to find out why. You've got to find out why. That's just how it works. So now I find out why on my overcome objections, and I repeat it back. Now I'm going to tell you, if I would love if you want to type it in the window there on the side. Why is it that people don't want to buy from you? Go ahead and type it in on the side. Why do they object to coming to you? And I'm sure the first thing you're going to write down there is price. Another thing you're going to write down is they need to talk with their spouse. Another thing you're going to write down is it's not the right time. They need to wait till they get their paycheck or some other scheduling conflict. Now, those are the three big ones in the tire industry. What's another one? Write those down, and McKay, you can cut me off and share some of those with me if anybody writes them down. But I'm going to address the first three. Price, I got to talk with my spouse, or I'm not the decision maker, and it's not the right time yet. Number one, price. You want to hear them say price. You want to hear them say, you know what, I'm getting that cheaper somewhere else. Really? How much? The exact same tire? No, it's a little bit different tire. Oh, okay. What tire are they quoting you? Great. Well, you know what? I can actually do that same tire here for the same price. The reason I brought this tire up to you is because this tire is better for what you're looking for. Because you said you're driving like this and on the road, and you wanted a quieter tire. You said you were only going off-road a little bit. So I chose this tire over that one because this tire fits your needs better. It is a little bit more. But if you want to go with that tire, we can match that price too. So can I go ahead and schedule you to come in? Now, that, by the way, is this process, these 4 steps you just saw. Why? Price. Oh, so what you're telling me is price is the issue. Number 2, restate. I'm repeating it back. You're telling me is price because you got a price from them. Now I'm going to explain the benefits. Number 3, of why our price is different or why the product I offered was different. And then I'm going to ask again directly, so can I go ahead and schedule you to come in? I'm telling you, this skill is sales. I get it. If you're uncomfortable with this, get somebody else on the phone because this is what it takes to sell tires. This is what it takes to sell anything. You've got to be willing to find out why. You've got to be willing to ask them again for the business. And if you're apprehensive because you're concerned that maybe you're being too pushy, you're not. If you are trying to help them, you're not being too pushy. You're trying to help them. They didn't understand the price difference. Now let's just say it is the exact same tire for a cheaper price that they can get at the local Sears dealership, for example. You can come back at, if I asked any one of you, can you match their price? Can you? Of course you can. But you don't want to just immediately drop to matching the price. When it comes down here to explaining the benefits again, you want to make sure you remind them, look, you can go ahead and get it from that dealership. They do good work. I like them. You don't want to slam your competition. I can match their price, though, and I can make this work for you. We're going to take care of you. I want your business. That's just me showing that I want their business. Can I go ahead and schedule you to come in here? Now, if they say no, again, you can go, so you're just more comfortable going with Sears than with us? Or is there some other reason that I need to be aware of? And again, that's just coming right back to asking why again, just to make sure that you're not missing anything. You know, and if they say no, I'm really more comfortable there, say, you know, be graceful about it. No problem. Go ahead. I appreciate you giving us an opportunity. Please keep us in mind in the future. We really want to earn your business. You may even be able to give them a coupon or a discount to beat their price if you need to. But you never will have that opportunity if, and again, I'm just doing this for the visual. If you do what just happened on this call, you will never have the opportunity to overcome the objection because you never asked for the business and you never got the objection. So it's just not going to happen. So again, you gotta overcome those objections and ask for it. Anything, McKay, that's come up?
A couple of things, but I think they're probably best at the end, Jeremiah.
No problem. 91% of the calls that we listened to, there was not an attempt to even overcome the objections. That means 9% of the time people did, and I promise you, those are the folks that are getting the business when that happens. So here's things to remember. They called you. You're not being too aggressive when you ask for their business. They aren't price shopping. No one price shops tires. They need tires. And if you don't sell them tires, they will call someone else. So get the appointment. Remember to get that appointment. Here's some statistics that will blow your mind. Use caller's name. When an employee uses the name, they're 2.5 times more likely to do business with you. Ask for the business. When you ask for the business, you are 4.4 times more likely to get the business. And folks, I want you to understand, we listen to millions of calls. We have done this for a long time. This data is coming right off our system. We did this with universities analyzing the information. You will close the business more when you ask for the name, when you ask for the business, when you use their name. And finally, get this. I spent a lot of time, and I'm sure you hear the energy and the passion in my voice on overcoming objections. 12.6 times more likely to get the business when you overcome objections. When you ask for the business, and then when they say no, you say, well, why? Let me help you through this. You're 12.6 times more likely to get the business. If you're uncomfortable with how to do that, there are a lot of resources to help you with that. We've got videos on our website. There's videos all over YouTube to help you know how to overcome objections. Go buy a book. Go to your library and rent a book. Learn how to overcome objections. And it is as simple, and I'm going to go back to this real fast. It is as simple as these 4 steps. Why? Repeat it back to them. Explain how you can deal with it. Ask for the business again. It doesn't matter how many books you read. There's hundreds of them. These are the 4 steps. Always will be. It's the basics of sales. All right, so those are the statistics that blow your mind. Here's a quick example. Calls to businesses will more than double, increasing by 105% by the end of 2014. That's 20 calls a day today, would be 41 calls in about 17 months from now. The businesses will receive 70 billion calls from mobile devices by 2016. Today that number is 20 billion. Let me explain. When I first started Contact Point in 2001, the cell phone was certainly out there, but the internet was booming. Remember, this was right after the internet was just really taken off. We had the internet bubble, and then people were saying, hey, the internet's it. And I remember specifically people saying, look, phone calls aren't going to be the way things go in the future. It's going to be internet. People are going to buy tires on the internet. Everything's going to be internet. Well, look what happened. In the past 10 years, that's totally changed. What's changed is people are walking around with smartphones in their hand. They have the internet in their hand. And what happens is when they look you up as they're driving on Google Maps and they say, I need a tire shop, they pull you up, and there's your phone number, and they hit dial, and they call you. And that's why these calls are increasing. If you think phone calls are important now and how you handle them, they're going to be that much more important when they've doubled, when you have more calls coming in. Now, here's a case study with Gerald's Tire. They have 6 stores in South Carolina. Their website was outdated. They didn't market. They didn't invest in their website. They didn't track their website effectiveness. They just didn't track it. They just had a website up. They hoped that it would work. Their website was only generating 150 phone calls a month. This was their assumption. They thought, I'm getting about 150 calls from my website. Most of the business came from the local Yellow Page ads and word of mouth. That's what they thought. They were getting Yellow Page ads. Well, you probably know by now that's not really the way it is. They used our tracking service. They started tracking what's happening on their website, and what they found is they were actually getting 300 to 400 calls a month from their website, and their Yellow Pages were only generating 8 to 10 calls a month. That's a shocker. Well, here's what they did. Here's what happened next. They put local numbers on their website the first month 1. They realized their website drove a majority of their calls, 300 to 400 a month. They spent money to redesign their site. They began doing some basic online marketing, and here's what happened to their results. In the 5th month, their website generated 1,489 calls, an increase of 892%, and they increased by 272% from what they were really generating in month 1. Now, here's the tactics. We started scoring phone calls for them. So scoring meaning we listened to their phone calls like the one I just made. We scored it, and we started implementing an internal program to increase their close rates. Their close rates in January 2012 were 13%. In May, they were 70%. This is real. This is really what's happening out there. If you will do the skills we just talked about today, you'll get those results. 438.5% increase. Revenue is now double national per store average. Close rate, what we've learned. Most tire dealers don't measure close rates or seek to improve it. Tire dealers could easily double or triple close rates if they measured them. Asking directly for the business increases close rates by 4.4 times. Remaining persistent, asking one more time after rejection, increases close rates by 12.6 times. This will become more important as calls to your business increase. So I appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to answer a lot of your questions right now, and I know that McKay's got some of those. But we are offering everybody on the call a 30-day trial of our service so you can start tracking where your calls are coming from, so you can actually listen to how you or your team are handling those calls, and we'll even give you some feedback on that as well. And of course, here's a phone number you can call. I've got a great team that can help you with that. But let me get to some of your questions. McKay, I'll turn it over to you.
Jeremiah, thanks. That was awesome. We've got a lot of good questions coming in, so I want to get to them as quickly as we can here. First, this is a good question. What are the most common, biggest mistakes you hear on the phone? Is it just the inability of asking for the business? I mean, is that one of the biggest things you hear?
The biggest mistake I hear is certainly that, but you know what? There's a bigger one, and it's specific in this industry, and it's tone of voice. It is sounding like you don't care when the phone rings. And that, of course, I mentioned is the first 4 to 6 seconds where you're setting that tone and building that relationship. But the most important thing that the mistake that I hear is attitude picking up the phone. So if you've got the wrong attitude or the people answering the phone have the wrong attitude, it is an immediate turnoff to the customer. You never have a second chance to make a first impression.
The other question that people are asking here is, if you get somebody in front of you physically in your store and the phone rings, how do you handle that in terms of how you divide your time up with the phone that's ringing and the people in front of you? What's the best way to do that so you don't tick everybody or anybody off?
Yeah, you know what? That is the most common question that I get asked in these trainings, and I'm assuming that one came in early because it always does. Good question. So you've got somebody in front of you. You've got the phone ringing. How do you manage that? First and foremost, everybody is important. The guy on the phone, the guy in front of you. So you've got to be able to measure out your time accordingly. I mean, I'm not a fan of putting people on hold. Sometimes you have to. If you do, don't do it for more than 30 seconds. But here's what's most important. Everybody needs to feel like you are giving them your undivided attention. The person inside the store and inside the shop needs to get eye contact from you. You need to acknowledge that you know that they're there. If you're on the phone, you can't talk to them. So raise your finger up in the air so that they can see that you see them, and you're gonna be right with them. If they walk in and the phone rings and you've been talking with them, turn to the person and use this exact word. So if you've got something to write down, please write this down because this is important. Say to them, I want to give you my undivided attention. They got to hear that first from you. I want to give you my undivided attention. I'm going to tell this person I'm going to call them back or see if I can address their questions within 30 seconds, and I'll be right back with you so I can focus on you and get you taken care of. Now that's when the phone's ringing. You do that in the first 3 rings of the phone. You don't want to wait 4 rings. First 3 rings of the phone. Then you pick the phone up. That person has acknowledged you in front of you in the shop. You pick the phone up and you answer the phone like you've got all the time in the world. Hi, this is Jeremiah with J&R Tires. How can I help you? Yeah, we can definitely help you with that. Now here's where things change. Excuse me. Who am I speaking with? Oh, this is Bill. Hi, Bill. So now this is where you change things. You go, hey, Bill, I'm with the customer right now in the shop. I want to give you my undivided attention. I'm going to call you back in about 15 minutes. Will you be available to take my call in 15 minutes? That is very important because recognize that I didn't say, hey, I'm busy right now, can I call you back? That would be rude. I got his name. I showed him my tone. I said I could take care of him. I told him, and by the way, it's actually a good thing to let him know you're a busy shop because they knows there are people in front of you. But you're saying, I'm going to call you back in 15 minutes. So make sure you do call him back in 15 minutes. You may be able to say, would you mind holding for about 30 seconds or about 60 seconds as I finish working with the person in front of me, and then I'll give you my undivided attention. You could say it that way as well, depending on how much time you have remaining with the person in the shop. So you're going to have to juggle this, but if there's anything you take away from what I'm explaining right now, it's that you want to make everybody feel like you're giving them your attention, They know you're busy. In fact, it's a good thing you are busy because that means that they want to be at a place where people like to be. It's called the bandwagon approach in sales. But this is very important. Make sure that they all know you're going to be with them and you follow up with it. Make sure you look them in the eye. Make sure you emphasize how important they are to you. And of course, if you're dealing with 2 and 3 and 4, sometimes every business that's doing well should have times that are so busy that they can't handle it. That's when you know you're in a good place and it's time to hire somebody else. But everybody should recognize that. And I'm telling you, when I watch companies follow through with the principles that I just talked about, how to look them in the eye, tell them I want to give you my undivided attention, pick up the phone, give them your undivided attention. When people follow that and there's a guy in the back sitting there waiting for his car to get done and he's hearing how well you're managing all that, they are so impressed they tell their friends about it. I've watched that happen before.
Here's the other question. We've had a few questions asked about call recording. How important is call recording to this whole process? I mean, it seems, I mean, totally critical, because if you're not recording the calls, you're not even going to A, know how your employees are doing, and B, of course, you're not going to be able to improve it. Just speak to that if you can a little bit, Jeremiah.
Yeah, so the question is, how important is it for me to record my people so that I can, how important is it to record my people? Is it really that important? And the answer to that is absolutely, but let me answer it with another way. If I'm a pro athlete like a football player and I play for 60 minutes on a Sunday, how much game time film do the coaches watch and the team watch before the next game that's only 60 minutes? And the answer to that is at least 40 hours of game film is watched before the next game. Why? Why is it so important for the football team to watch their own game film and analyze and study their own plays before the next 60-minute game comes? And you know the answer. It's because you're going to see opportunities, you're going to recognize weaknesses, you're going to be able to fix things, you're going to be able to see it from an outsider's perspective. That's why they do it. Every professional team does it. And you're a professional team, you need to do it. I can't get on this call right now and teach you and train these skills if I hadn't listened to calls from your industry. It would be just ideas. But the fact that I understand your industry because I can hear, like the call we just made to Wichita, I can now come back with very specific details that are unique to you. And, of course, accountability is probably the next biggest reason. The reason I want to listen to a recorded call is the accountability. I want to be able to hold myself accountable to higher skills, because you all know if I listen and record your calls, there are going to be things you could do to improve and fix. It's just the way it goes. And if I want to improve things, I've got to analyze myself. I've got to record my performance.
Awesome. And then one more question, and we'll be done, everybody. When someone does do the the price shopping thing, because I went through and listened to 10 calls this morning, just sort of preparing for this and whatnot, and we've done a lot of research in the industry as well, and literally I would say 80-90% of the time people just start the call with, well, I need a set of this size, how much are they going to be? Just walk us through, and you did during the presentation, but walk us through this whole scenario. If someone says, hey, I need this size of tire, how much are they? How do you get that person? What are the next steps, the next 2 steps to get them to actually, ask them to book an appointment, and then to avoid from them, to keep them from hanging up the phone and then just calling your competitor?
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, the first thing is I'm not going to give them the price right away. I'm going to learn more about them because I'm an expert. They may have the exact size that they need, but I know what they need because this is what I do for a living. So the first thing I'm going to do is acknowledge them, make them, thank them for calling, get their name, and say, yeah, I'm going to help you with this. Let me ask you some more questions. And I'm going to take control of the conversation. That's something I didn't talk about earlier, but that's really why you do that in the beginning, is so you can be in control. If you're not in control and you're just answering the customer's questions, they're going to get their price, they're going to hang up the phone because they got what they thought was most important. They didn't realize that there were other things they needed to consider. With that in mind, McKay, why don't I have you be that customer that you were hearing this morning, and I'll handle it the way I just trained everybody to handle it.
Sure. Yeah, I need 4 tires that are for my Chevy truck.
Great. I can definitely take care of that for you. Who am I speaking with?
McKay.
Hey, McKay. So you're looking for 4 tires for your Chevy truck. Let me get some more information from you so I can get specific about the kind of tires you're looking for and get you the price. So I'm not going to continue with the rest of the call, but what I just did was set myself up to start asking lots of great questions, and I took control of the conversation. I don't have to give him price right away. What I can do instead is ask, of course ask make and model, ask size, but I can also ask what kind of driving McKay does. I can ask him how long he's planning on having the automobile, what kind of warranty we'd be looking at. I can ask a lot of questions to really get a good feel for what he values in the automobile, and then of course continue the call from there by building value and using our tire brand, and then of course asking for the business.
Great. And like you said, asking for the business seems to be maybe the most critical element of this whole process. Seems to be where everybody falls short, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's shocking. Nobody does it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the really good questions, everybody. And thanks, Jeremiah, for taking the time. We appreciate it. As we said, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on our website later this afternoon. And then you all will receive an email from us first thing in the morning, probably 6 in the morning, that will have this webinar recording associated with it. So we encourage you to, A, listen to it, B, share it with people in your organization, and then share it with other people online. Email it to people. Even share it on social media to get the recording out there, because I think the more people in the industry that can hear this, especially if they're aligned with your organization, the better it is. Any last words, Jeremiah, before we close?
No, I would encourage you to give my team a call. There's the phone number right there. They would love to get you hooked up with the free trial. Of course, we offer additional services as well. We'd love to show you some of those. The bottom line is, if you can sell one more set of tires a day because you're selling because of the things we talked about, and I know you will if you follow the skills we talked about. If you can sell one more set of tires a day, what kind of impact would that have on your month revenue?
Awesome. Good point. And again, I do want to back up what Jeremiah said about the about giving our team a call. Just give us a call, and we can customize a solution and a program that's best for you. There's a lot of different options in terms of how robust you want it to be and your value and the price point you have. So anyway, it's a good tool, and it's very, very useful, as Jeremiah said, to track and record your calls. It's necessary if you want to sell more tires. So with that, we'll conclude. Thanks, everybody. You'll get that email from us in the morning that has the webinar recording on it. And until then, have a wonderful Wednesday. I believe today's Wednesday. So have a great Wednesday, everybody.